All right, so this is the Kangen water ionizer, and it gets installed on top of the counter. It needs to be plugged into the electricity, and it usually is connected to a designated faucet. Okay, we typically use a designated faucet from Ion Faucet. They don't all look like this. Some of them are smaller. And this line here feeds water into the machine. The water goes through the filter, which is here. Let me take this out real quick. There's actually a little arrow right here, and if you push in, it usually comes out. Okay, this is the Kangen water filter, but what really happens after it is filtered is called the ionization process, and that happens inside of here. There's an electrolysis chamber. Once the water is ionized, the water that's rich in hydrogen is what we designate as a drinking water, or the alkaline water is going to come out from this hose. And then depending on the type of faucet, some faucets accommodate for the acidic hose, although the machine comes with a little attached hose that's white in color, and usually it just will sit here and run off without having this extra attachment. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now, prior to the water being ionized, we typically recommend a pre-filter unless the house already has a whole house filter, and that's going to get installed underneath. Now, in some homes, we only need 2. In some homes, we need 3, like here. So the cold water is diverted to the filter, okay? And then it goes up into the faucet. So by the time that it gets into this part here, it's already cleaned from all the contaminants, and now it just gets ionized. Now, typically when we do installs, we reinforce with plumber's tape to make sure that everything is super tight. And these are just the housing of the cartridges that sit inside. When you first install this unit, you want to flush out the cartridges prior to connecting the water to the machine. And what we do is we have like a flexible hose, right? So like today, for example, I'm going to be taking out my pre-filters and replacing them. And so I'm going to disconnect this hose that feeds water into my machine, and I'm going to connect this flexible hose so I can just flush out the cartridges, because these cartridges really need to be flushed out for like 5 minutes each separately, and it's best not to let that water to go through the ionizer. Okay, so once the installation is complete, you're also going to want to run the water for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I typically do that on the beauty water setting. Okay, that's just 6.0 pH. That's really the only time that acidic water comes out from here, and it's normal for it to be when it's on this setting. Okay, and I just let that run. And the reason for that is when you get a new machine, you have a new filter, and again, all the cartridges have to be primed prior to actually using the water to drink. Once everything has been flushed out, now you can generate drinking water. I always recommend that you start with 8.5, and the way to do that is depending on the type of faucet. Now my faucet has a handle like this, so I just turn the water on. It takes a few seconds for it to start generating. The faucet that many people get now is the round faucet. Now you always want to lower the flow prior to serving yourself a glass of water, and that gives it enough time to ionize. We're looking for the water to have a high molecular hydrogen content, so we wanted to give it enough time to flow over the place. Now the reason that I tell people to start drinking 8.5, refreshing, oh, there we go. Sometimes you'll see the machine say refreshing, and that just means that it's reversing the polarity, and it's part of the way the machine is making sure that the plates are not going to accumulate any crystallized minerals. Once the refreshing sign goes away, then that means that it's ready to generate water again. And the way that you change the pH is just by simply pressing the button, and then when you turn the water on again, you want to run it for about 5-6 seconds, and then you can lower the flow and serve that water. And you want to maybe drink 8.5 pH for the first week. It's very detoxifying, so we don't want to go through like a major detox by starting at the highest setting, which is 9.5, but eventually you can continue to increase the ionization of the water. And at this setting here, 9.5, that's going to be where it generates the highest amount of antioxidants, molecular hydrogen, but it also is the most reduced water, which means that it's going to get into your cells very quickly. It's going to flush out toxins very quickly. So if you start to feel a little funny, Drinking that water, you would just go back down to maybe 9.0 just to allow yourself some adjustment. This water here, 7.0, is non-ionized. It's just filtered. It's going to be neutral, and it's great for making baby formula or if someone is taking time-release medication. And then this water here, I recommend running it every day for about a minute or two. It's very good for the machine. Again, it uses reverse polarity, and it's very good for the electrolysis chamber. There's medical grade titanium plates dipped in platinum, and by running the 6.0 water, it's going to help the plates stay clean from crystallized minerals. And lastly, there's a 2.5 setting here. 2.5 strong acidic water, which actually will come out of the acidic hose, or if you have the white hose coming out of the bottom. And that is special water for disinfecting, and it has many other uses. That would be that 2.5 pH right here. Simultaneously, the machine will also make 11.5 water that will come from here. And I'll make a separate video to show how you can utilize these waters for removing pesticides from fruits and vegetables, disinfecting your home, and many other uses. You notice the machine just like shut off by itself. That's normal. That's part of the energy saver. You don't have to touch the screen in order to use the machine. You could just turn the water on, and that will usually that's supposed to turn the machine on. Now, if ever you go to turn the water on and the machine does not turn on, the first thing you want to check is in the back, and this happens. So as you can see here, this is plugged upward, and so sometimes the machine is moved, which I don't recommend doing. If you have somebody cleaning your home, you want to tell them to leave it alone. You don't want this thing moved around, many reasons. And one of them is that this tends to get loose, and I just really prefer not to mess with it. So if it's not plugged all the way up, then you're not going to have power. You're going to think your machine doesn't work, but really all it is that it requires to be pushed back up properly. Now, I actually do recommend that you unplug the machine during a thunderstorm, or that you have some kind of surge protector. Now let's take a look over here. Right here you have a little tank. This is for the electrolysis enhancer. The electrolysis enhancer is only accessed when you tap the 2.5 pH. All the other waters, there's nothing being added to the water. But when you press 2.5 pH, it makes a very strong acidic water with disinfectant properties, and it actually utilizes a little bit of this electrolysis enhancer. I will make a separate video that shows you exactly what you need to know to use this. Very powerful water, and I don't use any chemicals in my homes whatsoever because I generate fresh 2.5, and that is my completely natural, harmless household cleaner. And it has so many other medicinal uses as well. It can even be used as a mouthwash. It kills athlete's foot. I mean, it's got so many different uses. Great for burns and wounds and post-surgery wounds and so forth. Now, in addition to this tank right here that's going to be inside the machine, which I'm going to slide back in for now. Put this on, okay? So this is something you don't want to lose. You don't want your housekeeper to lose. This we refer to as the CPU, or the cartridge, and you need this and you need this when you're doing the maintenance on the machine. Now, I will create a separate video to show you how to do the maintenance. You could do it once every month or 2 months. Some people do it more often, some people do it less often. But the main thing is, like, don't lose this.